And now, coming to you from the Pensado Media Center, powered by Westlake Pro.
It's our annual Q&A show, a brand new mix contest from Avid and Westlake Pro and AES New York, 1 week away. You're at the place, it's Pensado's place.
Hey guys, you got questions, we got answers. Looking forward to seeing you guys.
We did get a lot of questions, huh?
We got answers, you can get questions later.
Later.
We're that good, right?
We're out of answers, that's for sure.
Man.
Shall we get to it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey guys, it is great to see you. Thank you for your likes and subscribes. Our partners, the incredible 1500 or Nothing, the Blackbird Academy, Westlake Pro, Avid, Heaviosity, NAM, Lander, and Fab Factory. Welcome aboard. Lots of good stuff going on. First and foremost, we got AES. Going to interview the incredible Greg Wells.
Yeah.
Get there about 9:30 in the morning. AES has been very generous, and you can go there for free. Just go to this link, sign up. Lots of sign-ups. Greg is a genius, and you'll hear about his work with Keith Urban, Adele, 21 Pilots, Timberland, a whole bunch of folks.
A lot of people don't know this. If you say Greg Wells 3 times fast, you learn an infinite amount about
100%.
everything. Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen it a number of times.
Yeah. That's how I got my career started.
Absolutely.
Greg Wells.
Absolutely. No question. Also, mix contest. In 1 week, we announced the Indaba winner, but Avid and Westlake Pro have come together to do something super cool. The artist is Butterscotch. We met her in NAM last year.
I like her.
And the track is We Are All We Got. It's a cool remix contest. Avid and Westlake Pro are both our boys, been with us for a minute, and they're doing a really cool thing here. And there's really cool prizing. You get to win. See all that stuff right there?
Ooh.
You want to win
I'm
that
eligible
stuff.
this year. That's a good thing.
You are eligible. And I actually have samples of all these things
good.
at home.
Thank you.
So you want to enter. Go to the link right below. Get in it quickly. You got 4 weeks. It's going to be really cool. Avid and Westlake Pro doing their thing. So we'll see you then. All right, homeboy, you ready to answer some questions? You got most of them.
I'm ready.
All right, let's go to Toronto and do it.
All right.
Off we go.
Off we go.
See you. As promised, we're here in sunny Toronto, but it's a little chilly, even though it's sunny, correct?
It feels good, though.
Yep, we're in the offices of music marketing. We're in their conference room. Those are the guys that have the exchange. They have the IMSTAFESTA. Ray Williams and the team, thank you. Thank you for all your questions.
Yeah.
And let's get to number one. Dave, this is for you.
Okay.
Thomas Gulseth.
Oh, hey, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas. Says, what piece of gear do you feel cannot be replaced by a plug-in?
Well, Thomas, first off, you have to consider there's going to be an A to D, D to A conversion involved. So try to use outboard gear only when you're sure you gain something. I think you should start with all plug-ins. I don't think you should buy any analog gear to start. And then as you get skill sets, add analog gear. The ones I like are the EQ4M by Moog. I like the Cush Clariphonic. I like the BAE compressors and EQs. And I love my Shadow Hills 500 series.
There you go. Next question, Alessio Busso. He says, it'd be nice to have a DVD with all the ITLs that you did from first to last. So the question is, can we make it? And he would actually pay for that. Here's the answer. There's a certain number of exclusive ITLs that you can get at Groove3. Is that groove3.com? I think you go there for that site. And we are talking about ways to put the library together of ITLs at some place to make it accessible for you guys. And we'll get some sense on how we do that and what the methodology will do that. But it's a good idea. A lot of people requested, and we're thinking about it.
Thank you, Alessio.
Okay. Here's one that's a little theoretical, but it's good. Curtis Morgan says, in a world where everybody seems to be an engineer, it seems sort of futile to go down that expensive rabbit hole of producing for local artists when the payoff is so small. So why should somebody keep doing that?
Well, I think that's the only thing you should do, Curtis. There's no substitute for experience. And experience gives you confidence, and confidence gives you clients. It took me 10 years or so, and you're going to hear this number vary a little bit because I change it every day, to get the skills that I needed to earn a living. I wasn't worth much when I first started. I'm guessing maybe you're not, if you're better than your clients, that's a good thing. I don't see it that way. I think it's important to mix any place, anytime, anywhere for any amount of money, and then the money will start chasing you down.
I would add to that, Curtis, here's one of the things you should think about. Because you're someplace doesn't mean that that's the only place you can mix.
Good point.
And there's a big world called the internet. And the fact of the matter is, which a lot of people don't necessarily want to talk about, but we tell the truth here at Pensado's Place, is a lot of peers of Dave and Dave mix things off the internet. They don't just mix superstars. And that's a question of how you put your information out there, how you want people to contact you, how you set your rate, how good you can mix. So you're not pigeonholed by geographical stuff anymore. You can expand that and go farther. So do a good job. Let us know you did a good
Thanks,
job.
Curtis.
Next question. I think the name is Ruari Hanley. Apologize if I messed that up. Basically, we have several questions here about ear health. Ruari has tinnitus, and so there's a lot of questions about should engineers avoid loud sounds? Should they go to clubs, concerts? Talk to me about that kind of context, and then let's discuss ear health.
Hey, Rory, great question. I think ear health is vital, and I think it's something you should adopt and add to your skill set as early as you can. Pay attention to it. Don't be fanatic about it. I like to have my ears checked no less than once a year, and most years twice a year. There's some supplements you can take to increase your ear health. Become an ear doctor yourself and find a great doctor that you can discuss things with. In LA, it's House Ear Clinic that we all use, and start now. It can extend your hearing a long time past where regular people hear high-end information. So don't be ashamed either. If something's loud and you feel pain, protect yourself. It's okay. I've got a technique, Herb, where I don't want to look like I'm being disrespectful, so I'll get a piece of toilet paper this long and I'll wad it up and I'll put one in each ear and I got this hanging out, so I look like an idiot. But it blocks the sound and nobody ever says, "Damn, Dave, what you got?" You know?
So that's what those things are.
Yeah.
I've been in lots of meetings with you.
I turned it into a joke.
Absolutely.
Great question, Rory.
And also, I think that it's fair to say, and by the way, we're not just preaching to you guys. We need to do the same thing as well. I think it's important. Look, you're trying to stay involved with your health in general, and so one of the things that's evolved in the engineering space over time, in the creative space in general, is a general acknowledgement that you can't just go till you hit the wall. You got to get rest. You got to do things. You got to try to eat healthy. You got to. It's critical, and it helps your creativity. So it's not just about your physical stuff. It helps your creativity.
Amen.
I'd like to take this question from Ross, which was more of a thank you.
Oh, cool.
But he touched on a couple of things I think are important. I'll paraphrase the question. Ross enjoys the show. He says fascinating, entertaining, educational. He likes the full value of it. He likes how many episodes bear repeating. He likes watching how much we've evolved and getting our chops better.
That's cool.
It does feel like we're hanging out. The sponsors and all the other folk who made Pensado's Place possible have done a good job. Here's what I want to just say to Ross and to the audience in general. Look, we know that sometimes as we go through the sponsor stuff and all that kind of stuff, that you have to bear with it or fast forward past it. But we are passionately committed to keeping this show free for you while our expenses have really grown.
Really grown.
And those sponsors really help that. And the other thing is that you can help us just by going to their websites or doing whatever. It's a pretty easy exchange. But beyond that, as our stuff grows, we are also aware that we want to be cognizant of the things we want to adjust on the show, the things we want to tighten, things we want to make better. So please know we hear and we observe and we talk about making the shifts, and we're going to do some things to refresh the show and what we think are going to make it more interesting, because we want to keep it active. You guys have kept the show going. The sponsors have kept it going. You can tell we have newer sponsors because there's a value for the show. We just had 1,600 people show up at IMSTAFest in Toronto. We heard things that were incredible. So Dave and I are just as inspired as we were 6 years ago, and we're going to keep going, and thanks for bearing with us, and we're going to make the experience even better for you.
And really, remember, we want the show to be free. Herb's fanatic about our audience and how to keep you entertained and give you high quality. None of Herb's ideas are cheap. So to keep the show free, help us out with the sponsors, respect them, have an opinion, have your honest opinions, and it's okay to disagree with us anytime you want. But we really care about you and we're trying to give you the best we can.
Good stuff. Leon Hughes.
Leon.
Is there any relevance for mixing outside of the box anymore? Plugins have come so far that the gap is really closing. What do you think about that? And do you use any outboard gear still?
I use whatever the hell I want. I own everything. I own lots of outboard gear. I own every plugin ever made. But Leon, let me get serious with you. There's a trend among my friends that we're using less and less outboard gear, primarily because of the speed with which we need to move from song to song to song. I listed earlier in this Q&A a few of my favorite pieces that I use. It's not unusual for me to bring in a 2016 or some obscure piece of esoteric equipment, but the plugins are so good, and our ears are becoming accustomed to this particular sound. The analog sound is starting to sound like a 60s rock record, and it's not helping the rockers out now because they're tethered to that sound. So it's better to sound new than sound good, and use your comfort zone. Pick the gear that you feel something with that can give you an enhancement of your skill set. So it's not an easy answer. It's one I get asked a lot, and I hope I answered it for you.
Kirk McCrae says, his question is regarding track levels, particularly for hard rock. On hard rock, would love to push the envelope, but let's say, for instance, there's 4 main guitar tracks spread. He wants to balance the kick snare in the center. Should I balance those levels or bring down the center level more than the sides? He's trying to figure out kind of is there a standard for levels?
Well, yeah, the standard is just make it loud as shit. I mean, that's my standard. Humans always interpret volume as quality, so you listen to the same mix at a low level and a high level, and the high level will sound like it's got more low end and more top end. That's the reason all your car stereos have the loudness buttons, and what that does, it brings up the high and low end. In order to get volume, it has to be musical, so volume without musical taste is useless. So I'm not saying make it just loud, but make it good loud. And man, that's I'm going to do some into the layers. Keep an eye out for this because I think this is an important question. But basically, all of your problems start at the source. So it starts with that kick, with that one of 4 guitars. You've got to remove the things that are going to move the meter more, and you've got to enhance the things that you want to hear. And you do that inside the mix so that you know exactly what you can take out without it affecting the quality of the sound. That'll be your hint. Keep your eyes open for a new ITL on that.
Good job, homeboy. Roberto Beto Macis.
Roberto.
But it's for me. Do you think geographical localization for a mix engineer is still relevant in 2017? He's from Italy. He's planning on doing a big move. What city would we suggest, or would I suggest? I don't believe that geographical localization is critical. It can be strategic depending on your goal. So if you want to mix superstar records and deal with label people, and that is the box that you want to be in, there may be a point that you're connected in some levels to cities where that's happening. Do you have to live in those cities? Not always. Do you have to network and have relationships? There's a question from somebody else about networking, so I'm going to combine these answers. This is a relationship game at a time where people often think the relationships come through their phone, that come through their device. That's a way to stay connected, but that's not necessarily the way to build a relationship. So you have to figure out, we know lots of engineers who will come to LA or come to New York 4 or 5 times a year, see all the people. We have lots of friends. Our Giant Award winner, Greg Wells, goes to Nashville 3 or 4 times a year, spends a month in Nashville doing and making those relationships. So do you have to up and move? Not necessarily. Do you have to have a strategy to have relationships? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Lastly, you also can have a strategy for what you do at home. And maybe at home you can build out a bigger name for yourself by utilizing things outside the box that have to do with audio. Remember, audio's everywhere. and not necessarily just mixing hit records. So you have a number of options available to you. Think through them and hope that helps you. All righty.
Good answer, Herb.
Is that good?
Yep.
Cool. Our man Grant Walden.
Oh, hey, Grant.
Grant, what's up? He wants to make a full-time income in music. Studio profit doesn't make enough money for him so he can quit his day job. What are some other ways a sound engineer can diversify their income, specifically through online clients or online marketing? Want me to answer? You want your answer?
Let me add on to your answer.
Okay. Oh, got it. Then I need to answer. I was waiting. I was like, damn, was that it?
That was my.
But
new,
no, I think it's a good point.
Line 6 delay that I had on him just then.
Explore the internet and create some relationships and a client base on the internet. That is a relationship that literally, once there's a trust factor, once your work speaks for itself, you end up courting people who will hire you, send you money, send you files. You do a great job of mixing for them, and it expands your range so that wherever you're at, you're really everywhere. So that's a little bit of your online marketing question and the idea of online. There may be opportunities in your local community to mix, and you have to look at different things that you might want to mix. Do you mix the sports thing? Do you mix in theater? Do you mix at the radio station? Do you take your mixing skills? What's going on the TV side? Is there digital media in your business? Is there advertising? Are there jingles? Who knows where it may be? But try to think about this thing with your peripheral vision and not your linear vision, and then you'll see some things that you might not have seen normally.
Perfect, Grant. I know Grant. Grant, part of the problem you have, buddy, and I'm a little uncomfortable saying this on the internet, but you asked. You live in Muscle Shoals. Muscle Shoals is known for a particular type of music, and that type of music is not what I would call blazing up the charts right now. I think if you left Muscle Shoals, because you've got a skill set that's way broader than your current living situation, and Nashville would be a good spot for you because you've got serious skills, buddy, but you've got to get out of your comfort zone and make a commitment to move or not to move. Be known, you're known for a certain thing right now in Muscle Shoals. Like Herb said, expand where you are. Now this is true for all of you out there with the same question. I had to leave Atlanta because it was limited in terms of my skill set having value in Atlanta at the time. This is pre-everything cool about Atlanta. So put yourself where your skill set can grow and flourish and you can have upward mobility. Muscle Shoals is not it for you.
Mott Mainhard says, Dave, what hardware compressors do you use? Do you still use?
Great question. I used the BAE 10, I can't remember the number. I used the Shadow Hills, the one that you saw Peter give me, the 500 series. Loved that for vocals. I use, man, that's mostly the ones I use. Oh, Cliff Mogg just gave me one that I'm in love with too. I use a lot of plug-in ones because they're really, really good. The classical ones you all know, but those are the three I use. And the Better Maker limiter, I use that too.
Marcin Potecek, I think, says, should you sidechain kick to basses in hip-hop?
Duh. I sidechain my cereal to my milk. I sidechain everything. Martin, I'm not making fun of you, buddy, but I think that we had a question earlier about how things interact sonically, and one of the ways to keep certain frequencies out of the way of other tracks is to sidechain them. If you listen to Touch My Body by Mariah Carey, I sidechained just the high end of her vocal with this hi-hat. So when the hi-hat hit, it went down and then the pretty high-end breathiness of her voice came through because it didn't have to compete with the high end on the hi-hat. Sidechain everything, buddy. Become a sidechain guru and expert because it'll help your skill set. You'll mess some stuff up when you first start. I did, but you'll get better.
Critical audio question from Steve Ullman. What's your favorite place to eat in LA and why?
Anything that has plant-based foods and non-greasy foods when I'm working.
Does that keep your alert levels. And
I think for me it does, sir.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think I see a lot of people in our world go eat sushi for those
That's
same
good.
reasons.
That's good.
It's healthy and filling. And so, but it goes into those questions that we were talking about with tinnitus and health and all the other kinds of stuff. All right, Dave, our own batter's box. Fred Ruddick is turning the page on us. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Dave and Herb's top 3 tips for staying current. Now, do we want to answer it with you do 3 and I do 3?
Okay.
All right, so now I'm going to ask it the way he asked it.
Okay.
Fred Ruddick said, Dave and Herb, top 3 tips for staying current. Go.
Be relevant, and the way you're relevant is just keep an ear out for culture and how it moves and how it progresses, and then make records the culture wants.
Okay, that's one.
Stay current technologically, because all music is tethered to the technology involved, so keep up with the technology so you can make records where people want to own them.
2.
That was 2, so number 3.
Yeah.
Work your ass off and get a lot of skills and have the ability to create records people want to own.
Good answer. Now I got to do 3.
Okay.
So you say go.
Okay. Go.
I think 1, stay curious. Be alert in the world, because you will find things that you don't think are relevant that will help your creativity. 2, I think that try to become a hybrid of what you think you are, so that there are different parts of you that interplay, and curiosity will help answer that. And 3rd, keep a very healthy work and life balance. You are better at work when you're better at home. And we can't tell you how much that is critical. We know a lot of people, ourselves included, who've erred on the side of just work, and then things suffer and it starts to affect your work. So I think those 3 things and Dave's 3 things, which, by the way, Fred, let's be clear here. You got 6. You didn't get 3.
That's true.
You got 6. So value add.
Yeah.
Cool. All righty. From Leonardo Giglio. He's got 2 questions. 1, how to approach the low end of kick and the bass, thinking about frequencies. And he knows that there's been some episodes in the past. What do you say?
There's different techniques. My favorite is to isolate the kick and the bass. First, get them sounding good inside the mix, and then isolate the kick and the bass, and note what frequencies pop up when they hit together, and then remove those from, usually if it's a hip-hop song, I'll remove those frequencies from the bass. If it's a rock song, I'll remove them from the kick. And just kind of whittle away at it a little bit at a time. I never get it right off the top. It takes me, I'll tweak it probably for 2 or 3 hours, not all the time, but a minute here, a minute there during the mix. It's a process.
And how do you approach tonal balance for a whole song? Is there a way that you approach that?
Mix as much as you can with the full mix going. I'm not a fanatic. I solo different things from time to time, but I'm always trying to reference them within the context of the mix. And when you notice that the kick drum isn't really hitting the low end like it should, look for other areas where it's being covered up, and then just experiment with those areas. And so oftentimes it's the kick. So just take an EQ, take out like real narrow at say 80 cycles, and then sweep that. And when the kick drum comes back alive, you know that's the frequency you want to side chain. So it's experimenting, common sense things. Just find techniques that you can isolate those frequencies and do those things a couple of 100 times a mix. It takes me hours to do a mix. 12 for 8 for a rap, 12 for R&B, and 2 days for a pop mix. It's a process.
Muhammad Ibrahim says, how do you go about training your ears so you can quickly hear problems in a mix? He finds himself distracted with song arrangement and sound design to notice where his mix is failing.
Jason Joshua, one day I asked him, Jay, what is it that you get being around me? And he said, well, Dave, probably the most important thing I learned from you is what a good mix should sound like. And I dismissed that as being irrelevant, but the more I think about it, the more he was right. So your question could be answered by get exposed to enough great mixes to where you know what a great mix sounds like, and then emulate that. Now, it's going to take you a minute. Be patient. It took me 15 years, but work at it. You'll get it.
So Danny Vigil says, when are you coming back to D.C.? The answer is we love D.C. We spent literally about the last 10 months with people like arts agencies, Chuck Levin Superstore, other folks willing to try to bring us back and do things. But what we want to do is get it perfectly right, and we couldn't get it perfectly right yet. We plan to do that in 2018, so stay tuned. We like to come there when we do it right and bring the kinds of things that Cap Jam 1 did. So don't worry, it's in our head, we're working on it.
Favorite city of mine?
There's another hard one, which is, what is your perspective on the business as it exists today?
Oh, I'd like to hear that.
I think it's evolving. What we find on this end is that we kind of have to stay on our toes. Basically think of audio this way. Audio is a center that a lot of things, it's like a planet, and there's a lot of smaller planets around it moving, and it can affect the weather on the planet, it can affect the how long the sun is out, and it can affect, but basically if you have your audio skills done, then you want to be aware of the evolution of things that are going on around you and adapt accordingly. That's a good thing. There are a lot of industries that are dead and dying because of technology or other kinds of things that you can't go back to. We're in something that does. What's uncomfortable is figuring out the monetization models. What is exciting is that people are working on it and getting them better. So as much as it's an exercise that you may not want to do, not being involved or at least aware of what's going on around you is to your detriment. You don't have to be some psycho business person, but you need to be aware, because that's where a window's going to open up, you can step in. It does help to hire one. It helps to know them. So if anybody knows a herb, you can get to me, please, because I need a herb, because this herb's tired.
He's the best, by the way.
Oh, no. We've got a great team that are doing stuff.
Herb, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I think this is important.
Okay.
Your ability to see opportunities where other people don't is mind-boggling. I've seen you do it often, and my bank account loves you for that. How are the opportunities today different from the ones in the past that we've memorized and learned? Is that an impediment that we're still thinking about opportunities from a different era?
It's a good question. So I think that you always want to be thinking forward, but you're informed by the past. You just can't be limited by the past. So you learn, past sometimes just means experience, and you apply that experience moving forward. Whatever Dave gives me credit for is because I copy other people who I admire, who try to do it at a high level, and I try my version of it. And then you find what you're good at and not good at. I was talking to Chongwar the other day, who's shooting all this stuff, by the way. And I was talking to a head of business affairs, and they were talking about some deal structure. And it was the weirdest thing, because the guy said, "We believe you can see things that others can't."
I believe that too.
But I didn't know how to react to that. Like I knew it was a compliment, but I also saw it as a pressure. Like, oh God, do I need to see through walls? And do I have it? And sometimes you're just searching, and then you find something, you go, what if I do this and tweak it that way? So one, copy success, emulate it, figure out all success dynamics don't fit everybody. There are some things I do I'm terrible at, and my whole team can tell you. I just call Chong and go, Chong, help, or Dave, help, or something else. There's other things that other people are very impressed with, just like with Dave, by the way, and with our team. Like things that I'm in awe of what Dave does, they are nothing to Dave because it's in his skill set. There are things that people are impressed with what I do that, frankly, for me aren't that hard, but so I don't see them as a big deal, but they are a big deal in terms of their impact. You can have the same thing, stay alert, stay on the edge of the surfboard, keep your toes in the water, take old school stuff, copy success, and apply it to new ways. There's lots of opportunity out there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, particularly if you're self-managed.
Absolutely. Or self-motivated. All those apply. I hope I don't butcher your name. The next one is from Kaitav Sapre, I think. Essentially, he wants to know that he's studying using mixing tutorials, and he wants to know, can a home studio get that spark that what seems to be done in commercial studios have? Is there a possibility to make that home studio something that is magical and professional?
Those of you that know me know that I think in metaphors. My daughter's a world-class chef. She makes world-class food at her restaurant. She makes world-class food at my house because I eat it. Now, if you're not a world-class chef, you're gonna suck everywhere. So don't expect to get the same quality that one of your heroes that's successful gets at home. But shoot for that because it's the same exact skill set that will port over and transfer to when you get to a big studio. So when I left Atlanta to move here, I sucked. I wasn't very good. I thought the difference was the gear. Worst day of my life was when I found out it wasn't. I saw all the same gear I had in Atlanta. The people here were just better than me. And I had to really get better quickly because I started late in life. So don't concentrate on the equipment being the impediment. Concentrate on your skill set. I'm telling you, I see it day in, day out. I get I'm judging a contest now, a mixed contest, and these are all home things, and some of those guys are already pros. It's not your gear, it's not the home, it's you.
So the last question that we have, just because of time, is from Dan Clark. And he says, what are the best ways, it's a question to me, what are the best ways to expand your professional network? But I'm going to answer it by building on what Dave just said. We recently had on Boy Wonder. Boy Wonder, who has put Canada on the map amongst other musical people, has just produced hit after hit after hit with Drake and other folks. And on our show, I think you'll remember, he talked about one of his setups is in the corner of a small room. He lays on the couch. He's got 2 or 3 pieces of gear. I think he works in Fruity Loops or FL2, whatever it is. He just doesn't have that much stuff. The stuff he has is in here and in here. And as it relates to Dan, your question about professional networking, so the reason we're in Toronto is we did Imstafesta last weekend. 1,600 people showed up. It was an amazing number of people. And what we saw were, one, we were, thankful, and we thank you all for those folks who came out to see us. We had our room, we had an overflow room that had an overflow room. We talked for 7 hours with young men and women, the most diverse audience we've ever seen, about their aspirations and what they were doing, where they were networking to beat the band, collaborating, standing together, going to workshops together. And the cool part is Boy Wonder came by, gave him a plaque, and he stayed all day. And they had a chance to network with him. And he stayed and he was actually passing out phone numbers so we could do stuff. People got our numbers. Please just remember this, for Dan and everybody else, you can connect through your devices, but you solidify through your personal relationships. And those personal relationships are the things that will convert into opportunity. One isn't better than the other, but both are critical. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to the Imstafesta team and the location. Thanks to our team, Chongor and Talisha and all the gang, and Tyler for doing what they're doing. Hope this was helpful for you. It certainly was fun for us. Dave P., please take us home.
When I first became an engineer, or thought about becoming an engineer, I was already a little older than the average person started. I felt a need to find shortcuts to that success that I really wanted more than anything else on earth. And I'm telling you something that you're going to hate me for, but shortcuts are a waste of time. They become long cuts really quickly. A lot of these questions are an attempt at a shortcut. I'm not being mean, I'm just being honest. Stop looking for shortcuts, roll up your sleeves, put the time in, and you'll have so much fun on the journey that the destination will become irrelevant. See you guys soon.